I'm not happy with Mike McCarthy right now. I think that he was, I'll preface this by saying, he was put in a bad situation with a team that actively chose to get worse this past season. With that said, I think Mike McCarthy and his frankly outdated NFL philosophy is failing the Cowboys offense. And not only that, he's doing it again. I went back and watched some of my videos that were posted around this time last year when the offense was struggling. They were getting ready for the early bye. Here was a summation of my complaints. They're not doing outside runs. It's all right up the middle. Their motion rate is bad. They are not pushing the ball downfield. They need to steal more of the good plays. We're here again. It is the exact same issues. This team, after the bye last year, made changes, made adjustments, got more motion involved, pushed the ball downfield more, force-fed CeeDee Lamb, stole some good plays from these Shanahan-based offenses. And then after the disaster of the postseason, they said, what if we went back to our Week 1, early season 2023 offense? I don't understand that. It's a failure of your coaching staff, even though there are other aspects at play here. Here's what I think happened. I'm not buying the conspiracy theory of the Joneses don't want motion, period, so they're dictating to Mike. I think what happened, with his back against the wall, fighting for his coaching job this season, Mike McCarthy, as Jason Garrett has done previously, as this organization does in close, hard-fought, tight playoff-style games, they go to what they're comfortable with and what the coaching staff likes, and that static looks on offense, run the ball up the middle, trying to be conservative, coaching scared, play calling scared, so you don't lose games, and then you end up losing games. That is my issue. And I've got a lot of evidence to prove this here we'll get to in a second. Before we get to that, I want you guys to grade Mike McCarthy as a play caller. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know at the pinned comments of today's video how you feel about Mike McCarthy as the Cowboys play caller in what we've seen for a year and a half now in Dallas. So a lot of different things I want to get into here. I'm going to start with the one that I've already spent more time on, so I don't want to go too far into it. It's the ground game. You know, I've complained about the constant inside zone runs, a lack of duo and outside zone stuff. Here are the numbers this year, all per NFL Pro. Cowboys are 30th in yards per carry, 30th in inside yards per carry, better on outside runs. Now, the total yards carry not changing is indicative of how much inside runs they have because the 3.8 is not boosting things up there. It's not a massive difference. But if you're not going to run duo, run more outside stuff. Remember that one game last year where they stole that Shanahan toss play and then they never called it again? They had some good runs off it. Never called it again. It also, I think, fits Rico Dowdle better. Zeke's a better inside runner, but it's going to get you 3 to 4 yards more often than not at a kind of concerning rate. Dowdle can give you some more outside juice there. The best running teams in football right now aren't doing a ton of inside zone. They're running a ton of duo. That has become kind of the meta of the ground game in the NFL. They mix in some counters. They do some power stuff. They do some outside zone, pitch, etc. They're not just down blocking inside zone over and over. They're a little bit more creative and set themselves up for more success. My issue here, I don't trust this coaching staff to adjust. They watched the running game before they got rid of Joe Philbin, which was kind of an ownership dictated thing, and brought in Mike Solari. They watched duo with Zach Martin and Terrence Stale be awesome. Like, they were impactful running duo off the right side. That was their best run play. And they've stopped calling it for the most part because the coaching staff doesn't want to. It was an issue last year. It is still an issue this year. They haven't made any changes at all, really. None. So what is your confidence level in Mike McCarthy? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. I want honest answers here. Sound off in the comments section. Saw Cowboys motion usage here. First, in the first quarter, this is by quarters, right? Cowboys have run 43 total motion plays. That's 8th in the NFL. Then they've gotten away from it. 26th, 31st, 27th, or 23rd in total motion plays. Now, McCarthy has made some comments. It was kind of a coaching word salad, but part of what he had said was, look, our game scripts have been bad. We haven't been able to do the motion stuff maybe the way we'd like to. That would suggest, okay, that makes sense. There's some evidence for that. It's also down across the board this year, even in the first quarter. They were 4th last year in motion in the first quarter. Now, there was kind of juice later on in the year. That's part of the whole conversation, right? 11th, 20th, 12th, 14th. Some pretty big drop-offs there, which I think is actually pretty concerning. Now, again, the game scripts are a very valid possible reason as to, hey, why'd the motion get lower? Why are you not using as much motion? You also might be able to say, hey, we got rookie offensive linemen, some young players. You know, we already have so many pre-snap penalties. We don't want to add more complications. I can understand that. Also, you're not doing your job as a coach. If you can't get your guys to not false start, that's a you problem, buddy. It doesn't justify all of it, by the way. Because even in games where the Cowboys have had a better, more comfortable, non-having to play 2-minute offense stuff game script, motion hasn't been the highest necessarily, which I think is something you have to consider. The motion snaps by game. They did 42 in week 1, and they were down 24th, 25th in the NFL in week 2 and week 3, and 28th this past week. They led that game consistently. They were consistently utilizing massive amounts of motion in week 1. They had more snaps. Again, that's part of this whole conversation. But your motion by game has dropped. That should be a red flag. I cannot blame the game script or whatever we want to say in week 4. That you had a positive game script the entire time. All right? And most importantly, I don't think you use your motion properly. Here's what Luke Kuechly, the future NFL Hall of Fame linebacker, said recently. I think it was on the Daniel Jeremiah podcast about motion. He says, say it's 2x2 and the slot receiver motion is 3x1. So 3 receivers out wide, 1 on the other side. There's no stress on anybody in the second level of the defense. The nickel comes over, the Mike and Will switch, you configure our rotation, it's easy. But now you're playing the 49ers, and Deebo Samuel is going Mach 5 coming across the formation. The more speed that happens pre-snap on the offensive side of the ball, the more stress it puts on the defense. I don't know if he's getting the ball, if he's running the ball, if it's a passing route. I don't know what it is. It makes the run defense really hard because you can't move downhill. All your movement as a backer is lateral. Stress on a defense is caused by pre-snap motion and the speed at which they do it. The Cowboys don't do that. How many times do you see exactly what Luke Kuechly described? The back four goes left, back to the right to check out the man defense. Is it zone? That's fine. That's valuable. I like that. But they don't stress the defense with their motion. Mike McCarthy keeps talking about motion with a purpose. What Luke Kuechly described is motion with a purpose. And the Cowboys don't do it. In particular, I think motion at the snap can be very low. It's exactly what Luke Kuechly described. Some of the most fun and dynamic offenses do a ton of motion at the snap. The Cowboys are bottom 5 in football with New England, Jacksonville, Cleveland, and Carolina. It's not like those are great offenses. By the way, last in the NFL, you know what Patriots OC is? Alex Van Pelt, a.k.a. Mike McCarthy's old protege, his quarterback's coach in Green Bay. That's probably not an accident. Well, motion at the snap, in particular, is a new-ish idea in the NFL, and it has drastically changed. It was at 4% in 2017 per ESPN's analytics and Seth Walter. It is now 26%. That is how often there is motion at the snap during a play. The Cowboys are at 11.1%. I'm not saying this is some magical cure-all solution. You run motion pre-snap, boom, offense is fixed. But it helps you. It puts stress on the defense. And the Cowboys don't use it. And in particular, they don't use it on run plays. 62.5% of their motion plays are passes because it's left and right, back and forth. And when they do that speed motion stuff, it's oftentimes a run. It's a bit of a giveaway. because the run and pass game for this Cowboys team, they don't look similar. How many times can we tell, there's that waggle play, and when they motion the tight end fullback, it's a little bit more balanced of if it's a pass or not. When the receiver goes back left and then to the right or vice versa, that is always a pass. Almost always. It's kind of a tell, frankly, for smart defensive teams that you play in the postseason, right? So in general, do you agree with me? Should the Cowboys use more motion? Y for yes, N for no. Now, the other part I want to discuss here is the lack of help your head coach is giving your quarterback. Now, PFF unveiled this week. It's what they call ISO percentage. It is the number of dropbacks in which a quarterback doesn't have motion, doesn't have play action, doesn't use quick game passing concepts, doesn't get an RPO, doesn't get a screen. So it's like, this is just pure drop back and throw the ball stuff, right? Now, there's a lot of other things that go on here. Negative game scripts can be a factor. Make no mistake about it, because you can't really run play action when you're down by 20, etc. I think it's also a coaching stat. Is your coach calling the fun stuff, right? Here are the numbers this year. This is not a great group to be in. Bryce Young was dead last. Now, he won't last forever because his snap counts are going to go down. Bo Nix was at 48.2%. Dak Prescott's at 47.8%. Caleb Williams at 43%. Will Levis at 42%. That is a stark contrast to last year. Bryce Young was super high still. Derek Carr went from 56.5% to he's like 14% this year. All of a sudden, he looks better. Go figure, right? Will Levis, meanwhile, still pretty high. Russell Wilson playing in the same Denver Broncos offense, pretty high. That's clearly a Sean Payton stat right there. Last year, Dak Prescott was at 28.2%. It's a big difference. You're not calling the fun stuff, the good stuff, the stolen stuff you were calling last season. We'll talk more about some passing game stuff I have issues with, but you can get the Cowboys turnover chain over at chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. The link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That is normally on sale, so make sure you're getting the best deal for yourself. Click that link, chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. We've brought this up before, and I'm not going to stop. The tight window throw percentage this year for the Dallas Cowboys is the most of any quarterback in football, 27.5%. Now, you've got two Shanahan-based offense guys there, or one's a McVay, but still, and Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins. Bryce Young's near the bottom. Aaron Rodgers near the bottom. Some of this is receiver stuff. Some of it's scheme stuff. Some of it's maybe you're not hitting the right throws. It's not just a magical stat, but I think it's very, very informative, especially when you compare to previous seasons. This is the highest figure for Dak Prescott since 2022, since 2023, when he consistently was near the top of the NFL. Your outlier years were 2021 and 2020 because you had Amari Cooper. And I think that's a little bit of a 3 to 4 to 5% difference on targeted throws, right? Tight window throws are not just a coaching schematic thing. But doesn't it match our eye test? That's why you keep seeing so much of the tight window throw and average separation stats getting thrown out there. Because we're watching live and going, man, it seems like there's nobody open. And that's what we're seeing. Not many guys getting open, and the numbers are matching that. The data says, yeah, your eyes aren't lying to you. There's a lot of tight throws in there. Now, the seam shots Dak loves, that's pretty much always going to be a tight window throw. But where are the easy buttons on this team? How many times have I said during a broadcast, wide open guy against the Cowboys versus wide open guy for the Cowboys? It's a big difference, and it feels that way. It is Mike McCarthy's job as a head coach and as an offensive play caller to make life easier on his players and put them in the best position possible to maximize what you are calling to your player's skill set. And I don't think Mike McCarthy does a very good job of doing that. Still not done, by the way. We got Cowboys videos for you, though, each and every single day. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. We'll look at this metric here. Now, this is yards after catch over expected. It's mostly based on player tracking. Like, you should be able to make this guy miss or that guy miss and other stuff from NFL's next-gen stats. The numbers are not great. Now, Dallas is like 7th or 8th in yak over expected. Because of one man, it's CeeDee Lamb. 109 yards over expected after the catch. Ferguson's -2, Dowdle's -5, Tolbert's -8, Cook's -14. Now, a tight end being low, that kind of makes some sense. He's a tight end, right? He's not supposed to be some shifty playmaker. Tolbert and Cooks are pretty low, though. So let's be honest about this wide receiving core and this playmaking core. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, these guys don't do a great job of getting open on their own or making guys miss, at least on a consistent basis. You want to get explosive plays, you got to get guys open downfield, or you got to do some yak stuff. Shanahan does a bunch of yak stuff. It's actually down this year because of some injuries and guys not being available for the beginning of the year. But you have to help out. If your players are a little bit limited, if your front office failed you a little bit, your job as a coach has to be to generate some semblance of schematic advantage. Does anyone here believe that there is a schematic advantage with Mike McCarthy calling the plays? Do we feel that way? Because I don't. Because everything about this offense, moving the ball downfield, all of it feels like a challenge. Like, oh, man, okay, we're in 3rd and 3. Let's go. Oh, man, 2nd and 7. Oh, man, has a tight window throw to pick up 11. I keep coming back to that Hunter Lipke play last week where Dak Prescott does like 5 incredible things to pick up 11 yards, where he goes to read 1, to read 2, pressure in his face, spins away from it, looks off a guy, throws a dart to Lipke in a tight window throw for 11 yards. It's a lot of stuff to do. There's no just, we ran play action and got a deep guy open on a dig over the middle. But that doesn't happen with this team. I think that is a coaching issue, first and foremost.